peaceful countryside lives an inventor determined to keep the energy crisis and soaring utility bills from intruding on his idyllic pastoral life. Peter Vanderwyck has managed to do just that by pedaling more than 500,000 miles, most of that logged right on his own property.
So he's tapped into power sources that don't have meters hooked up to them. Peter has found his independence by making full use of the sun's rays to help generate electricity.
He also uses the wind to cover for the sun on cloudy days. But finally, Peter calls upon his own energy to pick up the slack.
If I'm producing my own energy, there's no bills to pay. And I've got this for life. It doesn't matter whether the world blows up.
Modern kitchen appliances were designed to save time and energy, but that's not how Peter sees it. His appliances aren't plugged into a wall. They're hooked up to Peter's very own pedal power plant.
Peter has modified an exercycle and has adapted it to run a variety of kitchen gadgets.
Well, I've got a pedal blender and a pedal food processor and a pedal citrus juicer. I've got a pedal knife sharpener.
His seemingly incessant pedaling handles more of the day's chores. The family wash, for example.
It works much better than any commercial washing machine. It's got much more agitation. It's a rubbish bin built onto a frame so that it can rock, and there's a connecting rod going from a pedal across to the bottom of the rubbish bin. Whereas normally with a commercial washing machine, you've only got a small part of the whole area that's actually acting as an agitator.
Peter has even planned for a spin cycle.
This is an ordinary commercial spin dryer out of a twin tub, taken out of the twin tub and connected to a very high geared pedal machine, so that it actually reaches much higher revs than a commercial spin dryer does. It gets about twice the revs, which means that by the time you've done your spinning, your clothes are much drier than they would be in a commercial spin dryer. People think that I'm a rebel, but I'm not really. I'm not a rebel. I'm trying to show real practical alternatives.
After countless miles of going nowhere, the mad peddler settles down for an evening of television.
Well, that's powered off the car battery, which normally charges up off the solar panel. But when it's cloudy, we've got the wind generator, which will charge it. And sometimes, not very often, I hope, we find ourselves in a situation where the power's run out. And I've had to jump on the bicycle and actually keep the television running by pedaling. But I don't like doing that because you really have to strain to try and hear anything above all the bicycle noises.
There are some disadvantages to pedal power.
Electricity or the large gas companies, the services of the Rainbow Power Company have now filtered through to the wider community.
During the 70s, the arrival of the alternate lifestylers in the Nimbin district coincided with a perceived energy crisis, but many people, including most of the new settlers, saw the problem not as a shortage of energy resources, but more as a waste of them. That philosophy, coupled with the cost of providing electricity to isolated properties, prompted three men to design simpler, more cost-effective systems for the commune that were being established, and they began selling them on market stalls or out the back of their ute. But today the group has swelled to 25 shareholders in the Rainbow Appropriate Power Company, and business has snowballed.
Around Nimbin, we cater mostly for the alternates that moved here since the Aquarius Festival. But we get farmers, out west that are too far away from the 240-volt mains. We even get the occasional city or suburban dweller who wants to be independent of the power grid.
Mm. Are you a threat to Northern Rivers electricity yet?
Well, I think that in the Nimbin area, I think you'd find that there's at least 50% of the houses on 12-volt systems around here now, most of which we've installed ourselves. So I don't know if they know about us, but in that sense, I think we probably are a threat.
With the growing demand for energy supplies as the population increases on the north coast, the alternate energy systems, solar, 12-volt and others offered by the company, are in fact being utilised throughout the region and by a much wider mainstream community, including the developers of Lismore's new Wilson's River Heritage Centre. Another positive side effect has also been the creation of employment for technicians and electricians in the area specialising in the alternate power sources. The latest project on the work table is a hydropower system, which, when fully developed, is expected to be the company's first export product.
And the news.
of the year and the man who photographed thousands of them and one of royalty's biggest fans prepares for the Queen Mum's birthday. Back in the 60s and 70s, the people who took on alternative lifestyles were often dismissed as rat bags and hippie dropouts. Well, now in the environment-conscious 90s, society is starting to catch on to many of their ideas. In fact, the Rainbow Power Company at Nimbin in northern New South Wales is leading the way in tapping natural sources of energy. Even governments and big companies are now taking notice of a bunch of dropouts whose dreams became reality.
Nestled in the hills of northern New South Wales, the tiny town of Nimbin has long been Australia's capital of alternate lifestyles, a spiritual pot of gold at the end of the rat race rainbow. While some of its flower children may have withered over time, there's one group that has blossomed into a successful business, the Rainbow Power Company, alternate lifestyle seekers who found alternate sources of power, the sun, wind and water. We're going to a place where it all started, a secluded spot just north of Nimbin. Here the so-called hippies lived close to nature and had plenty of time to think about how to get power without pollution for their remote properties. The result was this crude but effective water power generator that runs 6 homes in the area. It was cheap and ideologically sound.
It's perfect. As you see, we get power from it. It's given us a beautiful, tranquil spot, a pool for the kids to swim in the summer months, and virtually no damage at all to the environment.
From this humble beginning came a flow-on effect, so to speak. The principle perfected and miniaturized in a Pelton wheel generator, necessity being the mother of invention.
Because the need arose, you can't get power into places like this without thousands and thousands of dollars. So we designed these systems to accommodate the people who live in this sort of situation.
How much for one of these devices?
At the moment, $1,790.
It's a lot cheaper than getting conventional power connected, and more effective than the prototype wind generators. These have improved too over time. The answer to the power problem was blowing in the wind and waiting for the sun to be harnessed to run a hippie household. No more candles and kerosene lanterns for these Nimbin New Age settlers. All the mod cons have been altered to run off 12-volt batteries charged by solar cells. Craig Burnett was a radio and television technician in Sydney before he headed for Nimbin after seeing the light. The flash of inspiration hit him in an unusual place.
One day whilst driving to work, he was stuck in the usual 3/4 of an hour of traffic jam.
Now he's a technician and shareholder of the Rainbow Power Company, working from his hilltop home. The company employs about 20 locals. In this shed at the Paradise Valley community, workers are revamping torches, so essential in the Nimbin nights, where streetlights are scarce.
Traditionally, they're used with a throwaway battery, and what we're doing, we're inserting a rechargeable battery with a circuit in it that controls the battery voltage. Now, these torches will last for around 4 years. The battery itself will last for around 4 years with proper care.
Why don't we make them that good in the first place?
Everready like to make money, and they like to sell batteries.
The Rainbow Power Company is doing lots of selling of its own, shipping off Pelton wheel generators by the dozens. A shining success story in a town long tainted by a bad image. In the past, Nimbin was mainly known for its dropouts and its drugs. The smell in the air was of anything but success. But now many of those who dropped out questioning society have found some answers of their own. Now many mainstream institutions are looking here for answers too.
Government departments and universities come to us for advice. Government departments use them for remote installations for telecommunications and monitoring streams and that type of thing.
Company director Dave Lambert reckons we shouldn't be all that surprised. There's a lot of talent hidden in these here hills.
There's a lot of people with university education and engineering and electronics and as a company, we've been able to make use of their talents and education.
I guess we're always a bit of a weird bunch to people, dropouts, hippies, flower children, but I think people are now starting to appreciate that what we've been doing over the last few years, is sensible. I guess even my parents really understand that what I've been talking about for 10 years now, it does make sense.
Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people right on.
Well, there you go, homemade electricity and some clever ideas there from so-called dropouts. Stay with us. A colony on the New South Wales North Coast is now pumping out alternative energy. Its Rainbow Power Company is a leader in low-voltage systems which avoid mains electricity. The co-op has developed a range of appliances from 12-volt washing machines, refrigerators and amplifiers to a water wheel which powers half a dozen homes. With sales increasing Australia-wide, there is a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. I'm Helen Daly for EarthQuest.
Village in Australia. 15 years ago, it was just another depressed rural community. But in 1973, the Australian Union of Students decided to hold its annual Aquarius Festival here. The specific intention was to rejuvenate a dying town, to resettle with new values and new ideals. The experiment, of course, led to Australia's first real alternative colony. Whether or not you agree it's all been a social success, Nimbin is now reaping the benefits. And the most visible sign of that is the growing business community here.
The mere fact of us being here rejuvenated the township straight away. But now it's going through its second phase.
For obvious reasons, Peter Vanderwyk is known as Peter Pedals around here. Pedal power has made him famous far beyond Nimbin. Peter's hut in the hills runs on a bicycle wheel generator. His mod cons include a pedal-powered juicer and a water-powered spin dryer. As one of the original new settlers, alternative energy is important to Peter. He's used it as the basis for a business, which he believes is now the third largest in Nimbin.
Well, I've always wanted to support myself. And I like to support myself in a way which I enjoy doing. I don't want to support myself in a way that I'm doing something that I don't agree with.
This is the Rainbow Power Company, dedicated to the research, development and installation of alternative energy systems. The company started with 3 people and $100. It now has a yearly turnover of $250,000. So this house is an example of the sort of thing you're doing?
Yeah, this is a very typical one. It's got dual power supply. Most of the stuff in the house is run 12 volts. It's got 12-volt lighting.
For the Rainbow Power Company, business is very brisk. They're now doing mail order around the country, and next year hope to start exporting. What is success to you? Is it a matter of making money, or is it something more than that?
No, money is important because without it you can't have a business. But no, the money, apart from that, the money is not important. You know, like what really matters to us is to be able to survive quite happily and to be able to help people.
Some people might see a conflict between the so-called alternative lifestyle and the business ethic.
There are a few people, I think, that are envious of us. Some people don't like to see anybody who's successful.
Is there any sort of
alternative technology? Water comes from high up in the mountain. It's piped down here through hundreds of litres of black plastic.
It was 5 years ago that I met Peter Pedals. He was, even by Nimbin standards, an eccentric figure. His reputation was founded on the bicycle, both as a mode of transport and as a form of alternative energy.
And here's a way to get your vitamin C and exercise at the same time.
It was hard to see Peter's strange bicycle-derived devices as something the world would ever take seriously. Here was obviously a clever man, an elliptical thinker. But could we take seriously the bizarre arrangement on the roof?
How does the system work, Peter?
Well, it's just a matter of the wind blowing into the bicycle wheels. You've got the propeller blades between the spokes there, and they just pick up the wind and the thing turns.
It looks a bit like on a windy day the whole building might just take off.
Sometimes it feels like it, yes.
Or, for that matter, take seriously a mini hydroelectric plant in which teaspoons played such an important part.
This is a Pelton wheel. It's a basic turbine. It's the basis of hydroelectric power generation. And what's it made of? 12 stainless steel soup spoons. Peter, make it work.
5 years ago, Peter had a vision of an alternative energy company that would design, market and install low-cost, non-polluting power systems. And I had the opportunity to get in on the ground floor. Well, I ask you, it didn't really look very promising, did it? This is the Rainbow Power Company's mini hydroelectric generator built in their Nimbin factory.
Okay, so I was wrong. It's based on the Pelton wheel principle. Yeah, those teaspoons again. And they're exporting these to Indonesia and the Philippines, as well as selling them around Australia. I guess I always really knew that Peter Pedals was onto something.
In fact, it's a highly evolved descendant of Peter's bicycle dynamo and teaspoon contraption. But instead of teaspoons, the impeller is moulded from high-strength resin.
We've only just started to export stuff just recently, and I think that you'll find that as the export market starts to pick up, we'll end up selling a lot more stuff on export than within the country.
But it was the market within the Nimbin locality that got them off the ground. Then, after that, the national market, with 30 agencies Australia-wide selling a range of Rainbow products. The growth figures have been astounding. Since the company started in mid-87, they've experienced a 43% per annum growth rate.
Particularly in hard financial times, it seems that this is what people want to turn to, you know. If they realise that things are going to get more and more difficult financially, they're not spending their dollars in other areas, rather spend it on this kind of technology.
That's running computers and videos and televisions and radios and stereos and food processors and blenders.
Barry Glide is a local school teacher and the first customer the Rainbow Power Company had for their mini hydro generator.
I think what Peter and the people at Rainbow Power Company have been doing is they've been providing everyone with a blueprint for sustainable energy use. And there has to come a time when either we're going to adjust our way of living or we're going to pay the price for it.
3 years ago, Barry set up this independent power system for about $1,500. Like many people, he's integrated hydro with solar. When it doesn't rain, the sun shines. This day, like most, the Pelton wheel is running at half power. Before this, he says, he'd never realised just how much clean, renewable energy is freely available.
Well, I think the reality is that given the awareness we've now got of issues such as the greenhouse effect, our over-reliance on letting someone else supply us with our energy, there's no reason why the overwhelming majority of houses in this country can't be running off home energy systems.
A strange blend of the third world and high-tech. Computers and solar panels alongside the simplest alfresco bathrooms.
In many ways, Nimbin is like a piece of the third world and has some of the same advantages.
Carly McLaughlin is an electrical engineer with the Rainbow Power Company. One of the advantages she's talking about is low wage structure.
We are scab labour, yes. We're working for something like half what any award would normally grant us. Particularly those of us in the more technical and administrative positions, who could expect more than what they're getting now almost anywhere else.
Of course, you're working for yourselves, too. I mean, you're a shareholder in the company, aren't you?
Sure, but the dividends are less than I'd get in Westpac.
So what sort of money are you working for?
I got $6,500 last year.
we all treat each other as brothers in as much as it doesn't matter whether you clean a toilet or sweep the floor or do the accounts or what, we all get paid the same basic amount, you know.
We started with a very small amount of money, but we could have physical effort we put into it. You know, we put a lot of time into it that we never got paid for and never will. But it is really the dream to get it going was more important than the financial reward.
But conceivably, with that 43% per annum growth rate, I mean, you eventually could, all the shareholders, become quite wealthy.
Yeah.
Isn't that a vulgar thought?
Yeah. So the real question and the real challenge facing us is, how can we ensure that when we emerge from the recession, we will be best equipped to take up the opportunities for sustained growth?
As Australia debated while Australia's been debating manufacturing industry policy, this unlikely-looking group of worker entrepreneurs have already addressed the issue in their own way. In an unpretentious, highly inadequate makeshift factory in the Nimbin Hills, they've been producing sophisticated technology at third-world prices. They're able to market this hydroelectric generator for under $2,000, hence the local and overseas demand. This year, the company's turnover exceeded $1 million.
There's no monetary value on the sort of good feeling that we get out of producing something as good as this. You can't put a price on that.
I think that's one reason why the company has worked so well, because you know, everyone really believes in what we're doing, and we've all got a very, very strong interest in what we make.
They might work for very little, but how much money do you need to live in Nimbin? This is a paradise. Thickly wooded hills enfold lush green valleys. The land is full of bird song and the sounds of running water. And on the sun-drenched hillsides, you can almost see the fruit and veggies swelling in the ground. Perhaps only in a land of such negligible overheads could the experiment stand a chance.
We knew the dole wasn't going to last for much longer, and we wanted to support ourselves. Peter had the idea and the name of the Rainbow Power Company and the concept. Jack had a car and I had a house with all-weather access, which the three of us just clicked and got together. We're still really great friends.
How much paid-up capital did you have, Pete?
We just put in $30 each.
$30 each?
Yeah, and that was just enough to buy enough gear to take to the first market.
That was 5 years ago. They took $90 worth of low-energy light fittings and rechargeable torches to the market and came back with $150.
Can you believe it? Do you pinch yourself sometimes? I mean, I saw you only 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, none of this had happened then yet, no. Yeah, lots of changes. We're now in the $1 million a year bracket.
And you don't look like it.
No, I guess not.
We don't feel like it.
We don't feel like it, no.
Nimbin was fertile ground for the fledgling Rainbow Power Company. People had come here for the alternative life. They needed no sales pitch. The market was ripe for solar, hydro, and wind-driven systems.
It boggles my mind to think that light came not from the NRE, the Northern Electricity, but comes from the sun.
Many are attracted by the sense of independence that comes from producing your own electricity.
You're sitting there watching TV, and over it comes, you know, we regret the delay in transmission owing to a power failure, and there you are saying, what power failure? You haven't got them.
Others invest in alternative energy because of the huge expense of hooking up to the state power grid.
But the reason is that the stick across the road there, across the valley...
The power pole.
The power pole, yeah.
About a quarter of a kilometre away.
Yeah, they wanted 10 grand to put the power on.
10 grand?
Yeah, 10 grand to put the power on over here. So, I do the equation, and then for 5 grand I can, and, you know, a lot of time and effort, I can build my own system.
And with a sense of what they've saved, also comes a sense of what the rest of us are wasting.
I think what has to work everywhere is a consciousness of power use. And that doesn't need to only happen in the country. People in the city can have that kind of consciousness also.
At some stage in the making of this report, my old mate Peter Pedals came to the realisation that I had only a limited understanding of the nature of electricity. A cup of tea in the bush would clarify my thinking.
The power that we're getting is due to both the pressure of the water and the flow rate. Right, the pressure comes down in this pipe here. We've got 165 psi or something here. The flow rate is determined by the size nozzle that we've put in there. Right, and the two combined, the pressure times the flow rate, gives us the watts. Right, now that's translated mechanically.
At this point, a less tactful interviewer might interrupt to ask if he's been smoking the local wacky-backy. But I chose to bluff my way instead. Oh, I see. And in the end, I think I got away with it.
So what we've done is we've used water to boil itself.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll now discuss how to renovate this area here so that we have more space.
The barefoot executives of the Rainbow Power Company are contemplating expansion. They need not only a new factory, but more office space as well. The terrible time has arrived when they're thinking of getting a bank loan. Until now, the small is beautiful ideology has kept the company debt-free.
This company raises money by not paying out money. I mean, if this would be a multinational corporation, the wages bill alone would be well past $1 million. So things are being done very, very small scale.
And because the Rainbow Power Company is a worker cooperative, these executive decisions about company directions are everyone's decision.
Our profitability is not very high, and carrying a high interest burden could well send us to the wall like everybody else.
But if you don't borrow a couple of $100,000, then you can't have a new factory.
I know.
And if you don't have a new factory, then you can't produce more of these units.
Yes, it's the devil of the deep blue sea situation.
What do your instincts tell you to do?
My instincts tell me that I've got to be bigger to have any significant influence on technology usage in Australia, and that's the long-range goal.
The hills are alive with the sound of electricity. In my week at Nimbin, I saw many power schemes and many households, and they all seem to run quite adequately without a quarterly power bill. The wind, the rain and the sun keep the battery banks topped up, and with the help of rainbow technology, even the most sensitive equipment can be operated. Some communities have even created their own power grids, sharing electricity from the one source. This Heath Robinson contraption really works. It's sending 2.5 amps of power to each of 6 households. They pay a couple of dollars a month to maintain the system.
And you plan to market a more sophisticated-looking version of this?
I guess you could call this a prototype for a low-head water turbine we hope to make commercially available in the future.
So I should remember the spoons and I shouldn't laugh at it?
No, yeah. This is very organic. This is just made out of whatever they could find in the area, basically.
It's not just the newcomers to Nimbin who've embraced the alternative energy. Some of the area's older residents are pretty keen on it too.
I don't know why I did without it so long.
They call him Wick Parmiter. He's an old bushman, now in his 70s, and he's always lived the simple life within these 4 walls. Well, 3 walls, actually. Wick reckons you don't need a wall on the side the rain never comes from. No electricity, a dirt floor, and kerosene light. Until what he calls the new idea arrived.
I say, you come home that night, you just open the door and flick, she's there. Well, it's a different striking matches and all this game.
Wick now has all the power he can use. Not that he uses much, all he wanted was light. But like all solar converts, what pleases him most is the independence of the system. He owes nothing to anyone.
She's a free world for me, and I think she will be till the day I die.
Oh, yes. Let our poison waste rain into river, lakes and sea. We change weather patterns when we chop down all the trees. We fill the air with our pollution. There is one solution, and we call it ecology.
Wick was an inspiration. I was now ready for alternative energy. I'd seen the light, and the light was solar. I wanted to start in a small, inexpensive way. And it was at the local market that I found what I was looking for. A solar-powered hat, and obviously at a giveaway price.
So far I haven't found a lot of demand for them, but I think they are something that will take off in the real hot summer weather.
It's terrific. Put my hand over it and it stops, back in the sun. There it goes.
That's great.
This is my first solar power purchase.
Of course, all courageous new ideas will have their teething problems, and of course, some people will laugh. But my experiences with Peter Pedals have taught me to keep my mind well ventilated.
You like it? Yeah, lovely. I wouldn't mind one.
Oh,
Thank you. Great.
It's not often you can go to a market and find something really useful, something that you've really been looking for.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to keep cool on the hat, isn't it? Yeah.
Australia. It's a dry, arid land where water means life. Under a relentless sun, both man and beast struggle to survive. But today, the sun's energy can work for us. SolarX has made the breakthrough. Solar power is no longer a gimmick. It's no longer the domain of the alternative lifestyle fraternity. Through research and development and massive advances in technology, SolarX solar power is now a genuine alternative to traditional power sources. The SolarX system is simple. Solar energy is gathered by unique super-efficient solar panels. The energy passes through a controller and then into storage batteries that then discharge the power when there is a demand. SolarX systems are already at work. Across a wide variety of rural applications, including water pumping. SolarX gives you power for all your pumping needs wherever they are. River or dam with fixed or floating pump. Or submersible pump. In addition to providing actual power for pumping needs, compact systems can be employed for fence electrification. The SolarX system can also provide all your domestic power requirements. For lights, entertainment units, fridges, in fact, all the home comforts. And remember, with SolarX you get single source supply. We can provide all components and hardware for a complete operational system. We can arrange installation or advise on correct installation methods. The major consideration is to ensure that the solar panels are placed to receive the most sunlight and that they're free of any shadows. Small or large, and anything in between, we provide a consultancy service to ensure you receive a system that meets your power requirements. Put the sun to work for you. Contact your SolarX dealer today and take advantage of free energy from the sun.
The sun is, for all intents and purposes, an infinite energy source. To efficiently and reliably harness that energy is of vital interest to us all. SolarX has made the breakthrough. Solar power is no longer a gimmick. It's no longer the domain of the alternative lifestyle fraternity. Through research and development and massive advances in technology, SolarX solar power is now a genuine alternative to traditional power sources. Ideally suited to remote locations. The weekender. The environment conscious. It can also be an economic alternative to mains power. The SolarX system is simple. Solar energy is gathered by unique, super-efficient solar panels. The energy then passes through a controller and then into storage batteries that then discharge power when there is a demand. Solar power can meet all your power demands. If it can run on electricity, it can run on solar power. And with SolarX, you get single-source supply. We can provide all components and hardware for a complete operational system. Small or large, and anything in between. We provide a consultancy service to ensure you receive a system that meets your power requirements. Installation or advise on correct installation methods. The major consideration is to ensure that the solar panels are placed to receive the most sunlight and that they are free of any shadows. To get the most from your SolarX system, just remember these few points. Don't leave lights on in unattended rooms. Spread your power consumption, vacuuming one day, washing the next. Remember that stored power can be replaced during the day, but not at night. What can you expect from a SolarX system? This example shows typical usage for a 2 to 3 bedroom cottage with 2 adults and 2 children. The daily average watts required would be adequately handled by an 8-module SolarX system. With the cost of traditional power supplies constantly rising, it's time you took a good look at a SolarX system. Once installed, you can look forward to years of free power from the sun. Contact your SolarX dealer today and enjoy all the home comforts with SolarX solar power.
Thousands of centuries, the sun has sent light to the earth. But only for 3 decades has its energy been captured, converted directly to electricity, and put to work. And work it does. Solar electricity, now it's man's co-worker, increasing in applications every year, becoming more economical for large-scale power. And it's all done by these solar cells that today are at work in every climate of the world. But how can this be done? How is sunshine made to light up lives in pitch black and turn motors and send voices over the air? It begins with this. high-purity sand or quartz. Sand is made of the element silicon and oxygen, and it's everywhere. Remove the oxygen, and you are left with this, raw silicon metal, a unique material that is metallic and crystalline at the same time. Raw silicon like this is purified and reformed into these thin wafers. When sunlight shines on silicon wafers that have been specially treated, the energy of the light is transferred to electrons in the silicon. The electrons flow out of each cell with new energy. This direct current that is generated can be used immediately, for example, to run motors and pumps, or it can be stored in batteries for use at night or during stormy weather. The ultimate source of the power remains the same, one which will never demand a price hike because the fuel itself, sunlight, is delivered for free. Electricity can be invaluable anywhere, but especially in areas far removed from conventional power sources. Villagers or farmers in remote or underdeveloped regions may depend on diesel engines to drive water pumps. But fuel is expensive and difficult to obtain, and engines can break down and be costly to maintain. Often, the only reliable method is to carry water by hand or to use animals. PV-powered pumps are one answer. For example, here in the dry northeastern province of Garissa in Kenya.
When we come to our water problem, people think the solar system or solar pumps might be something for the future. I totally disagree with it. It's actually something for yesterday, because we don't require any maintenance. From when we bought this pump, we are pumping every day. The people who are manning these pumps have never been to anybody's school at all. They were all looking after camels and goats. And we haven't had any major problem whereby we need a technician or anybody with any knowledge of maintaining it. So we have done away with maintenance. We get an average of 3,000 gallons from both units per hour between 9 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the evening. And we are now watering 12 acres of coffee trees and bananas. We're completely satisfied with it. And the coffee is doing well. The bananas are doing extremely well. You can see yourself. With the amount of fuel diesel that I would require, let's say, for 9 months, just diesel, to pump the same amount of water, I would buy one pump. I'm trying to get another pump now to put on what we call the short-term crops, like maize, millet, vegetables. And I think within 2 or 3 months, the other side of the farm that you have seen being plowed will be having those. This should be known as the answer to people like us who are in this part of the world. You see, we've been getting a lot of aid from Europe. And I hope somebody somewhere will now give these pumps to us on aid instead of giving us diesel engines, trucks, electric motors, because we don't need them. They should bring these solar pumps. With this water running to the Indian Ocean being tapped by these pumps, we won't have to come to you again for aid next year for food. You see, we would be growing our own food.
Besides the floating DC pump, there are other PV-powered motors and pumps used around the world. This submersible pump and motor have been installed in Roatan near Honduras to supply water for an entire village. Submersible pump means that the pump and motor are placed permanently down in the well below the water level. There are no batteries used here either. When the sun shines, the water flows. And this water delivery system uses another submersible pump to provide a fresh water supply for the cattle of these Maasai in Kenya. Around the world, electricity from the sun is being used to operate water pumps for irrigation, livestock, and for village drinking water. Another essential need in developing areas is refrigeration for vaccines and perishable foods. A PV-powered medical refrigerator and lighting package like the one in this remote village in Kenya help meet basic needs without failure or continual cost. The ability to reliably communicate via radio or telephone is yet another problem for developing areas. In the mountainous countryside of Papua New Guinea, this village is just one of the many linked by a radio telephone totally powered by PV. A small array and battery bank are all that's needed to make essential and reliable communication available every day. And to link major communication centers, the Post and Telegraph of Papua New Guinea chose Arco Solar PV as the sole power for a 300-mile-long microwave chain involving 11 large repeaters. The sheer remoteness of the sites makes reliability the single most important factor. Reliability and ruggedness were key reasons for the largest county in California to choose an Arco Solar PV system to replace a diesel generator at this important telecommunications repeater site.
Onyx Peak is the single most important telecommunications link for all of San Bernardino County. It's strategically located at 9,200 feet above sea level, and it ties the entire eastern desert all the way to the downtown San Bernardino major facilities. And because of that, it's critical. The loads are critical that they operate full-time. There cannot be a power failure. This was state-of-the-art. They wanted to go something more than just replacing diesel generators with diesel generators. And our objective in designing this system was to provide them with a reliable power system. That was the #1 criteria. The area right now has no snow, but the snow can stand easily 5 feet in this area. It's very difficult to access, sometimes only by helicopter. So reliability was the #1 factor in this system's design. This is the building where the previous generators were housed in. They were 7.5 kW, which was very much over capacity for the load that existed here. Now with the photovoltaic system and only needing the gen sets for backup, we've reduced that generator size almost in half. In our calculations in designing this system, at the worst possible load, the design load, 24 kilowatt hours per day, and with the average inclement conditions during the winter, this backup system will run a maximum 195 hours. 195 hours versus 8,760 is quite a comparison in fuel savings. The system has done better than we expected. We've gone through the winter. We've had a week solid of cloudy weather, and the backup system to this, which is generators on battery chargers, has not had to operate one time. And that's a substantial claim about the output of this product.
PV is used in telecommunications systems all over the world, from the Colorado Mountains to the Swiss Alps, from South America to spanning 200 miles across the Red Sea, linking Saudi Arabia and Sudan. And another common use of PV in remote areas is to prevent underground pipelines from rusting. For example, here in New Mexico, current from batteries charged by PV modules prevents any rusting from occurring along 12 miles of 12-inch oil pipeline. Current generated during each day is stored in batteries and steadily passed to the pipe deep underground to counter the electrical reaction called rusting or corrosion. One of the oldest applications of PV in remote, harsh environments has been for navigational aids. Small oil and gas platforms and navigational buoys around the world have for many years used PV to power their foghorns and lights. The need for only a moderate amount of power and the requirements of surviving in harsh environments with extremely high reliability point to PV modules and batteries as the solution. Arco Solar PV is used to power offshore navigational aids in almost every major waterway in the world, from the Gulf of Mexico to the Mediterranean Sea. In fact, Arco Solar has developed a module specifically designed for severe marine environments that has been tested and qualified under the very difficult U.S. Coast Guard requirements. And modules are used for land navigation as well, such as on railroad cabooses for reliable lighting even when standing idle, or for remote railroad crossing guards and signals. PV has been used for years to power navigational aids along the bitterly cold coasts of Scandinavia, This Coast Guard lighthouse on the coast of Sweden is one of 27 powered solely by PV. It operates in one of the most severe climates. The sea is frozen for several months of the year, and temperatures fall far below freezing. Any maintenance of a generator or other power source would be both dangerous and expensive. And the Norwegian Coast Guard uses modules to operate more than 50 similar lighthouses all the way up to 70 degrees latitude. In all these cases, nickel-cadmium batteries are used to withstand the extreme cold. How does the Coast Guard know that Arco solar modules can withstand these extremes of temperature, humidity, and wind? It's not left to chance. All module designs go through elaborate environmental tests. Some key tests have been established by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for the U.S. government. They include heating modules to 90 degrees Celsius, then quickly cooling them to minus 40 degrees Celsius, and doing this 200 times. Doing this same temperature cycling in 85% humidity to recreate humid tropical and frozen Arctic climates. Simulating violent wind buffeting of 125 miles per hour winds. And applying 3,000 volts between cells and metal frame to ensure safe insulation from dangerous current. And firing large 1.5-inch hailstones traveling 60 miles per hour directly at the module glass front. Arco Solar goes beyond the JPL tests, subjecting designs to high humidity soak, salt vapor soak, and all the tests to qualify for the safety label of the Underwriters Laboratory, an independent consumer safety testing lab. In fact, Arco solar modules are presently the only ones to qualify to carry the seal of the Underwriters Laboratory. These assurances of safety and our constant factory testing of module output and strength assure both industrial clients and consumers that Arco solar modules are safe and tough. From harsh industrial applications, we can turn to more recreational pastimes and find PV at work as well. Recreational vehicles and boats equipped with a single PV module can sit idle for long periods and still have their starting batteries fully charged and ready for work. No more need to change out dead batteries or carry them on shore to charge. Or they can have a few large modules and a bigger battery and operate appliances without having to turn on a noisy generator. How many and how long the appliances can run depends on how many modules are at work. That's one of the benefits of Arco Solar modular technology. An array can be expanded easily and thus can grow to meet virtually any future need. Having some PV on the road with you is nice, but bringing electricity to people's homes is perhaps the most exciting way that PV works today. For people who choose to live far from existing power lines, or for vacation homes or cabins, PV is a perfect choice. In some cases, a small PV system is combined with other sources like generators or propane gas.
We're at the Feather Mountain Ranch in central Arizona, near Prescott. What we have here is a typical genset power system for a remote home or remote ranch house. This array supplies approximately half of the power for the home. It can be expanded at a later date to probably supply up to 90 to 100% of the power for the home. It's used in conjunction with a Kohler light plant, which is a typical generator used in mountain areas, a low-speed generator that is quite efficient. The battery room and control room in the ranch house here is the heart of the system. We have a 5,000-watt inverter that takes the 48-volt DC power and converts it to AC electricity. In addition to that, we operate all of the lights in the home at 48 volts. High-efficiency fluorescent ballast are used to supply most of the lighting needs. Other than that, the home is very typical of a standard home with AC appliances. We're charging batteries during the daytime and converting the battery power to AC power with the inverter. When the generator is needed, it is only for the peak power points during the day, and at that time we can also charge the batteries with a generator. So what we effectively do is make the generator last many, many more years than it would be possible when it runs on a 24-hour basis. So we have a system here that is cost-effective when we look at the cost of operating a generator. We can bring in these solar systems, batteries, and the associated hardware, and give the customer a system that is not only reliable, but it's quiet, and it saves them money to boot, because the cost of operating a generator is quite high these days.
Using a generator is not commonly necessary. Most remote homes can operate entirely off a PV array charging batteries. How many modules and batteries are needed depends on three general factors. What is the load demand? How much electricity is needed? And does this demand vary summer to winter? What is the average local weather like? The amount of solar energy available daily will determine how much electricity one cell or module can produce. Local weather data collected over a period of years by weather stations or airports is used to predict a specific location's energy availability. What solar equipment is to be used? What is the current and voltage output from the module? How much storage capacity will each battery have? If the modules could overcharge the batteries, a regulator must be used. From these inputs, the number of modules and batteries are determined. The amount of energy needed for a typical 24-hour period is divided by the amount of energy that one module is expected to produce. This tells us how many modules will be needed to produce the entire day and night load demand. Batteries store the power generated during daylight. There should be enough battery capacity to not only operate the loads during a typical night, but continually supply the entire daily load day after day during a period of unusually bad weather. Normally, 3 to 7 days of reserve or autonomy battery capacity is plenty for remote homes. For remote transmitters or navigational aids, 10 to 20 days may be designed into the system for extra reliability. The capacity needed to operate all the loads during the longest expected stretch of continuous stormy days is divided by the energy usable from one battery. This gives the number of batteries needed for the system to operate reliably throughout the year. Using PV for cabins and homes distant from utility power makes a lot of sense, not only because it is quiet and reliable, but it is less expensive than the tens of thousands of dollars required to extend power lines. But remoteness from utility power is not necessary for PV to be used to power homes. Developers are now seriously considering building PV into their homes and developments to add value to their projects. For example, here in Carlsbad, California, north of San Diego, the developer of these ocean view townhomes is including a 1 kilowatt PV array on each roof.
We made a decision when we designed this project to introduce and provide to the public, besides a quality home and a well-appointed ocean view residence, to add an additional standard amenity, and that was one of a photovoltaic system. We felt that the public, particularly the buying public in Southern California, with the utility rates being as high as they are, was ready to have the ability to generate their power on their roof. I might add that these homes, all 112 homes, will be sold here with the utility interconnected photovoltaic system as a standard amenity, just like we would offer dishwashers or trash compactors. It's been designed to be able to provide electric power during a day when excess power is being produced, more than what normally is needed by that home. The power is fueled right back into the utility company. And yet, when they're using power during the day, it is displacing part of that power. In this project itself, we feel that the project will be more attractive to buyers. We predict that the system that is there presently will save anywhere from 25 to 30% of the power that is used by this home.
The design of this development is to have PV on each residence. Another approach is to have a central PV array for a subdivision. In Phoenix, Arizona, a major developer, John Long Homes, has built an entire development around such a small central PV power station. 24 new homes use the power from this 190,000 peak watt array each morning to cool their homes, as well as run any appliances. During the rest of the day, the array power that is not used by the homeowners is sent out to the utility, and the homes are given a credit toward what they will draw from the utility at night.
We view this particular project as a stepping stone toward our ultimate use of photovoltaic energy in a new community that we're planning, a whole new city, about 15 miles north of Phoenix. Houses of this size would run, each homeowner's use is as individual as you and I, but it'd be in the neighborhood of $250 to $300 a month. And we expect that a homeowner who is motivated to buy in this subdivision and appreciates all of the thermal techniques that we've employed, if they use those to their potential, there's no reason they can't have a zero bill for the year. We don't have a doubt in the world that the hardware will perform the way ARCO tells us it will. We have utmost confidence in it. We don't view this as an experimental project. I think that, you know, anytime you're on the front end of the use of a particular technology, it has to be exciting if you have any curiosity in your soul.
Not just developers, but large electric utilities have begun using PV to supply power to urban homes.
The ARCO solar power plant, more than 3 times larger than any other system in the world, opened today. The plant is located.
The solar-to-electric energy generator dedicated today is 3 times larger.
Ceremonies will be held tomorrow for the world's largest solar plant capable of turning sunlight into electricity. The plant is
The first utility-scale PV station in the world was built by ARCO Solar in 1983 in Southern California near Hesperia. During daylight, this 20-acre facility generates electric power at the rate of over 1 million watts and sends it to the Southern California Edison Utility Company. During a typical day, it produces enough energy for 300 to 400 Southern California homes. It took only 8 months to build, from the first plans on paper to final checkout, and it operates unmanned and without regular maintenance or cleaning. Another 1 megawatt facility has been completed using ARCO solar modules operated by the Sacramento Municipal Utility District near their nuclear power plant. This PV power station is designed specifically to offset summer load demand and has simpler single-axis trackers to follow the sun east to west during the summer months. The largest and most visually striking PV central power station in the world is 6 times larger than the previous 2. This 130-acre plant uses mirrors to reflect more light onto the cells and increase their output. It is located in the high Carrizo Plain, 50 miles east of San Luis Obispo in Southern California, and feeds over 6 megawatts during peak sun hours to the Pacific Gas and Electric Utility Company, enough energy for over 2,000 homes. This entire power plant was also built in only 8 months and also operates unmanned and virtually maintenance-free. The quickness with which these power stations can be built and expanded, the reliability and steady availability of power compared to conventional power plants, and the low cost of maintenance, all have been proven by these large-scale PV installations. They pose an attractive alternative to electrical utilities seeking cost-effective ways to serve current and future customers. Utilities, homeowners, farmers, villagers. Everyone benefits from the continuous expansion in uses of photovoltaics, and ARCO Solar has pushed the technology further than anyone in the world with the development and mass production of a new generation of PV devices, large area integrated thin films. Instead of growing crystalline silicon and slicing into wafers, all the cells needed for a module are created at the same time on a thin sheet of glass. Gases are used to deposit an incredibly thin layer of treated silicon, less than 1/200th the thickness of traditional cells. Instead of individual cells needing to be connected, the entire module is the basic building block, saving time, money, materials, and increasing design flexibility enormously. Any voltage or current can be created easily. The device can be round or rectangular to suit the product. And one very special advantage of thin film technology over traditional cell technology, the module can be made semi-transparent for use as window material in boat hatches, car sunroofs, skylights, and even building glass. The low cost and design flexibility of this technique is allowing Arco Solar to add value and reliability to many consumer products. And by leading the world in large area thin film manufacturing, the traditional markets needing large amounts of power can now look forward to greater economy with the same reliability and ruggedness that's made Arco Solar PV so attractive for almost a decade. The uses of PV today are increasing at a faster pace than ever before, not only for remote areas where reliability is essential, but also near to where we work and play, providing essential safety, or water for drinking and farming, or adding to enjoyment of life. And new technology is making special uses more possible and affordable. But it's not just the future that's so full of excitement. Think of what you can do with it today.
Reshape Group is made up of a number of Australian companies who are each specialists in their own chosen field. They bring together decades of experience in all areas of renewable energy and are ideally placed to assist you make the transition from wasteful conventional power to the way of the future, renewable energy. Reshape can demonstrate recent advances in technology, design and manufacturing that have produced a whole new generation of products and systems that can help you make the break from energy dependencies of the past. New improvements in wind, solar, water and biomass electricity generation can reduce your overall energy expenses by as much as 75%. New developments in stove and oven design can reduce your fuel bills by half, using biomass waste products as fuel. We could save billions of trees and cut heating costs to a fraction of their current level. Renewable energy has become a more than viable option to conventional fossil-generated power. Right here and now, in the world as we know it and live in every day, renewable energy has clear and demonstrable advantages. The market for renewable energy is already huge and growing all the time. With renewable energy, anyone living anywhere in the world can enjoy all the time and labor-saving advantages of modern technology. The villager on a remote island, the school that needs cost-effective cooking facilities, the health center needing refrigeration, the miner in an isolated camp in the mountains, the small businessman who wants to improve his business, the family that now spends far too much time barely surviving, the farmer who needs more water, the new settlers who want to enjoy the peace and beauty of rural living without sacrificing the amenities of modern living. Renewable energy products and systems can make it happen now. For the aid agency that wants to break the cycle of dependency and help its recipients to self-reliance and responsibility, renewable energy is the answer.
This should be known as the answer to people like us who are in this part of the world. You see, we've been getting a lot of aid from Europe. And I hope somebody somewhere will now give these pumps to us on aid instead of giving us diesel engines, trucks, electric motors, because we don't need them. They should bring these solar pumps. With this water running to the Indian Ocean being tapped by these pumps, we won't have to come to you again for aid next year for food. You see, we would be growing our own food.
Let's look at the remarkable depth and strength of the Reshape Group. Reshape puts you in touch with experts in the domestic or household use of renewable energy in the form of Rainbow small electric power systems and accessories. Reshape can bring you more efficient use of natural fuels with the best range of stoves, heaters, ovens, steam boilers, food dryers and fryers, and more for domestic, institutional and business use. Reshape companies make deep cycle batteries, battery chargers, inverters from household to village size, wind turbines, solar panels, refrigeration, lighting, toys, appliances, accessories, garden and security lighting, rechargeable torches. Products designed to make renewable energy work here and now. The philosophy of Reshape is to find products that meet the real needs of its clients, bring them to the market, and then put in place the support system that guarantees their acceptance and success. Reshape is as much concerned with exporting technology as it is with simply selling products. Reshape can justifiably claim to be unlike any other organization working in the field of renewable energy. In fact, there's no one else in the market whose renewable energy products are so well supported as Reshape's. Reshape is currently undertaking turnkey projects in Asia and the Pacific, designing and installing renewable energy systems on behalf of institutions, aid agencies, national and local governments, industry, local communities, and individual customers. Reshape is actively seeking to introduce renewable energy products to the widest possible market and to form an ongoing partnership with its clients that's far beyond the initial transaction. In rural areas and villages especially, far from any likelihood of ever being connected to the mains power grid, the switch to renewable energy means freedom from ongoing and ever-increasing fossil fuel costs and the opportunity to reinvest the money saved into community facilities or special projects to generate extra income. Reshape provide extensive technical and personal support to the end user, including on-site analysis, training, and in-country assembly.
This graph shows a performance curve for a Pelton wheel hydro unit. The nozzle size versus the amps is shown, and this graph shows that the optimum performance position is at 21 amps with a 7mm nozzle.
The results of Reshape's extensive research and development program, for example, is available to clients at a nominal cost. The Reshape Group already undertakes R&D programs, including prototyping for such bodies as Australia's CSIRO, the United Nations, aid agencies, government authorities, universities, and major corporations. Reshape draws upon research facilities around Australia, including the Biomass Energy Research Centre, the Rainbow Power Electric Workshop, the Multitronics Consumer Products Division, and a number of other centres across Australia. All in all, it's a remarkable resource. Dedicated scientists, designers, planners, and technical staff committed to producing renewable energy products and systems that are simply the best in their class and making sure they stay that way. People like Dr. Stephen Joseph, the Principal of Biomass Energy Systems and the Director of Technical Services for Reshape.
This stove consists of two components. It's the biomass section and the solar section. Now, the biomass section is very important because when the sun's not shining or very early in the morning, you have to have some sort of backup energy. Now, the cheaper form of energy is wood or agricultural residues. and most people collect it. What we've tried to do is to reduce the amount of wood to a minimum, and we've done this by breaking the stove into two parts. One is where you introduce the primary air and where you scoop the ash out, and the second part is where you introduce the secondary air. Now, the primary air basically releases the volatile gases from the wood or the agricultural residues, and the secondary air burns those completely. We try and get between 95 and 99% combustion efficiency. And what we're looking for is about 60% of the wood's energy actually being utilized in cooking the food. And this is compared with about 10 to 15% on an open fire.
Dr. Joseph is renowned in energy, international aid and academic circles for his ability to make existing technology work more efficiently and more economically. He's traveled extensively in Asia and the Pacific and knows how to translate a great idea or concept into a product or system that has real, pragmatic applications and advantages. Dr. Joseph's latest breakthrough is a new generation steam engine. By using modern materials and technology, he and his team of associates have made a steam engine that's around a fifth of the size now in common use, that needs no lubrication, costs about 50% of conventional models, and is incredibly fuel efficient.
The beauty of this steam engine is that it has plastic bearings and it doesn't need lubrication. Now, this has a number of beneficial effects. One, of course, the running cost is a lot less, but also you can use the steam for cooking or for heating because there's no oil in it. Traditional engines, you have to remove the oil because you could use it. The overall efficiency in terms of the electricity generated and the steam is around 60%. Now, this is much better than a diesel because you can only get power out of a diesel easily, and the efficiency of a diesel engine is around about 30%.
Another remarkable biomass development is the combustion gasifier that converts agricultural fodder, like rice husks, into a useful ash, producing inexpensive heat in the process, and is ideal for small to medium industries such as rice mills. The same innovative approach shows in the range of best cooking devices manufactured by biomass. There are stoves, ovens and cookers for domestic or communal use that can cut kitchen budgets considerably using available fuels such as coconut husks, wood or coal, and create a healthier, smoke-free working environment. Best institutional cookers are ideal for schools, hospitals, and resorts, etc., with sizes ranging from 100 to 600 litres. The fuel-efficient Best Bakery Oven uses advanced technology to produce up to 1,000 loaves of bread a day at a saving of 15% per loaf. The mini bakery forms an excellent basis for the development of a small business enterprise. The most widely used form of renewable energy in the world is wood or agricultural residues and byproducts. The Biomass Energy Research Center, under the direction of Dr. Stephen Joseph, is determined to find and implement the most cost-effective and energy-efficient ways possible of using this source of heat and power. Another abundant natural resource throughout much of Asia and the Pacific is water, with tropical rains feeding countless small streams, rivers, and watercourses. Reshape can show you how to turn this water power into electrical energy too, thanks to the work of pioneers like Mr. Peter Pedals, who along with his fellow researchers at the Rainbow Power Electrical Workshop have perfected the remarkable Rainbow Micro Hydro Generator. This lightweight compact generator uses the very latest high-tech components to provide constant electrical output of up to 300 watts on very little water flow at a fall of only 30 meters.
The principle of the machine is that you've got your water coming in, there's two nozzles, there's a wheel spinning around here, the water hits the wheel at high velocity, spins the wheel around operating the generator, which then sends the power across to the battery charging system, which we've got opened up here to see the insides of it, and you can see the battery voltage and the amount of amps it's putting out at this very moment.
The Rainbow Micro Hydro works quietly, efficiently and consistently, and on its own can generate as much power as 20 solar panels. The Rainbow Sine Wave Inverter transforms the 12-volt energy produced by the hydro turbine and other renewable energy generators such as solar panels, wind turbines, etc., into main standard 240-volt power, suitable for running all modern electrical appliances such as TVs, hand tools, hi-fi equipment, video, fax machines, switchboards, computers, and the like. Reshape keeps close to the retail market and understands that ordinary consumers need help in adapting to new technology. The most exciting or technologically advanced product is of little real value unless it can be sold and explained to the market and supported by technical and after-sales service. Renewable energy in the 90s is a growth industry. In both developed and developing economies, the demand is growing as both big business and the environmentalists realize the unacceptable cost of conventional energy sources. To meet this demand, Reshape creates renewable energy systems from the best available individual products on the market and make them work together in the most efficient way. The power generated by a micro hydro turbine, solar panel, or windmill, for example, can be stored in a bank of purpose-built deep-cycle batteries and then made available either as low-voltage DC power or as 240-volt power through an inverter to run the household appliances, lighting and heating, etc. The storage batteries Reshape recommends are the cost-effective Sun Cycle range, designed especially for renewable energy and remote area applications. Sun Cycle deep cycle batteries are long-lasting and reliable, with a design life of up to 13 years and a 5-year pro-rata guarantee. Used in conjunction with a suitable battery storage bank, the Woods battery charger can halve your current fuel consumption for a diesel or petrol generator. You simply alternate daily between generated and stored power. With the money you save in fuel costs in the first year alone, you will have paid for the Woods charger and battery bank. Woods battery chargers are also ideal for garages and electrical workshops. Reshape supplies state-of-the-art solar panels, including SolarX, designed for peak performance for up to 20 years and carrying a 10-year guarantee. SolarX, who have been manufacturing solar panels since 1973, are renowned for their quality and reliability, the result of rigorous testing and extensive experience in the field. For household power, electric fencing, or agricultural pumping or irrigation systems, etc., SolarX solar panels are designed for reliable output day in, day out. Where regular winds are available, the innovative Survivor wind turbine may be the answer. Designed in cooperation with NASA, the Survivor wind turbine provides power output at wind speeds as low as 2.5 meters per second, yet can handle gale and hurricane force winds up to 65 meters per second. Designed to handle the storm in style and keep on powering all the while. Reshape can provide refrigeration products suitable for renewable energy situations. There are domestic fridges and freezers, commercial and industrial units, display cabinets and sandwich bars, built to perform to the highest standards on battery power without the cost of gas or kerosene fuel. Renewable energy has come of age, ready to take its place as the energy source for today. Now is the time to begin investing in renewable energy products and technology, and the best way to begin is by talking to Reshape, the renewable energy people from Australia. Reshape have the range of products you need, tried and tested in the field for many years. Reshape have the expertise, the services and the commitment to make renewable energy work for you. Talk to Reshape, the powerful new force in renewable energy, and begin shaping a sustainable future. Thank you for listening.
Your coast-owned Rainbow Power Company can cut your fuel bills in half and pump all the water you need at no cost. We have wind generators for power supply and pumping, hydro turbines turning water into power, state-of-the-art Solrex solar panels guaranteed 10 years to light your home or pump water or fence your stock for years. Best of all,
the story of this successful alternative energy company goes back to the Aquarius Festival, a celebration of alternative lifestyles held in the 1970s at the village of Nimbin in northern New South Wales.
I feel nice, a sugar and spice. I feel nice, a sugar and spice.
15 years later, flower power lingers on. And now half of the homes nestled in the picturesque foothills of the Great Dividing Range run on alternative power.
I think that the world desperately needs alternative power. You know, I think, for instance, in Australia, the greenhouse effect that we know of, the coal-burning power stations that we get our power from produces just as much carbon dioxide that pollutes the atmosphere as what all the cars do put together. So I think that it's high time that we started looking at alternatives to power. Out of all the carbon dioxide that the whole country produces, 42 or 45%, I think it is, of that is produced by coal-burning power stations.
Peter Pedals is one of the founders of this cooperative-style company. He picked up his name in the early days when he powered a whole range of appliances by pedalling an adapted bicycle. These days, the energy comes from nature rather than Peter's muscles.
Well, the most common one is sunshine, and Australia is very good for sunshine. You know, Australia is one of the sunniest countries in the world, probably. But we often do what you call hybrid systems. A hybrid system meaning a combination of power sources, sun, wind, and water, basically all sources coming from the weather.
The Rainbow Power Company operates from a factory with a difference. The only outside service connected here is the telephone. The power for tools, the heating, the water supply, the computers and the lighting is all gathered from nature.
Well, we've incorporated what you call passive solar design, which basically means making use of the changes in the environment to the best advantage.
And there's plenty of windows.
Lots of windows, let lots of light in, because we want to try and use natural lighting to the best advantage, as much natural lighting into the building as possible. And then we've also used mud brick everywhere. Mud brick is a fairly cheap commodity, usually plentifully available everywhere you go. It also provides what you call thermal mass, right? It maintains the heat that it's presently at for a long period of time.
Alternative power means more than just generating electricity. In the factory, you'll find all sorts of devices, gadgets and even toys that you don't have to plug into anything.
These are just 3 different kits with a little solar panel and a motor. So that with the aeroplane and the helicopter, you just get the propeller turning around when you got light on the solar panel. And this one here actually plays music.
Look at this.
Yeah, well, this is a solar-powered hat.
How does it work?
Oh, well, you just put it on your head and yeah, you need to be in the sun. When the sun shines on top of the solar panel, the little propeller turns at the front and cools your forehead.
The day we visited, it was overcast and the air was still. No sun for the panels and no breeze for the wind generator. What if you get weather like this for 3 days and the sun doesn't shine?
Well, we've got a really bad situation here. No sun and no wind. We've got a wind turbine here as well. No, you really, when we design the system for people, we usually recommend that they have at least 5 days of storage to cope with no sun for 5 days. But it's also good to have some kind of a backup. You know, a lot of people have a petrol or a diesel generator, for instance. But I'd sooner see something like a steam engine as a backup because it's a lot less polluting than these other things are.
The best thing to hope for on a day like this is a good, solid downpour. And that's just what we got, to spark the generation of hydropower. The best place for a generator is at the bottom of a waterfall. This little generator turns out enough electricity to easily meet the needs of an average home.
Well, here we are. This is
a rather offbeat spot. This is it.
This is the hydro, yeah, right in the middle of the rainforest.
Now, how does it work? We've got a waterfall over there.
Yeah, well, the water's basically piped through here under pressure. Now, I don't know if I can open it without getting splashed. Yeah, well, see, there's... The water just runs in there and turns the wheel, which produces electricity, which gets piped back to the house.
The Rainbow Power Company is doing a roaring trade. As well as people who generate their own power as a matter of principle, it's being used in many places as a matter of necessity.
We're starting to sell things, for instance, to the Pacific Islands, where they've never ever seen power before, other than just throwaway batteries. So for the first time in their life, they'll be able to switch a light on.
So what would it cost to cut your home off from the power lines and stop paying those hefty electricity bills?
To try and answer that question to some extent, if a lot of cottages where you've only, let's say, got 3 or 4 lights and just a black and white TV and that's about it, you can do that with a system of about $2,000. But if you're talking about a family situation where there's kids and there's more lights and there's more things going on, it might be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 or even $10,000.
Once you've made that initial outlay, power's free from then on, is it?
Yeah. There's a payback period, of course. The payback period would depend on what it would have cost to connect to the grid in the first place. If you're in the country, it might cost you a fortune to connect to the grid, and that's where standalone power systems come into their own.
So good!